It seems a little strange, doesn't it? I mean, we are 1 week away from the first Sunday of Advent, and our gospel reading for today is about a conversation that Pilate had with Jesus. And yet, when we dig into the conversation, and particularly when we consider the reading this week from Daniel, things come into focus. The conversation is about whether Jesus is the King of the Jews, and if he is, who he has dominion over. Because, of course, one can't be a king without having dominion over someone or something, like a kingdom. To better understand the significance of this conversation, we need to recall a few things. First, Jesus isn't interested in any violence. We know this because when Jesus was arrested, when Simon Peter drew a sword and cut the ear off of a high priest's slave, Jesus said in John chapter 18, verse 11, "Put your sword back into its sheath. Am I not to drink the cup that the Father has given me?" Second, there's more than enough irony to go around at this point. The Jews were, as one writer put it, fastidious about ritual defilement, so much so that they wouldn't enter into Pilate's headquarters because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. But they were willing to kill an innocent man. And third, Pilate was trying to avoid conflict. He was walking a line. He offended the Jews by raiding the temple treasury, and he didn't want a Jewish revolt. He was pretty happy being who he was, having the power that he did, and he wanted to keep it that way. And that's why, immediately before our reading, we learned that Pilate went to the Jews because they wouldn't come to him, and he said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" And the Jews basically said, "Listen, we wouldn't have turned him over if he wasn't a criminal. Judge him according to your law, because we are not permitted to put anyone to death." So it's within this context that the conversation takes place. Jesus has been arrested. The Jews are interested in Jesus' death, and Pilate doesn't want to make any waves. He's looking for a reason to get out of doing what the Jews have asked him to do. It's only after this conversation that the Jews opt to save Barabbas over Jesus. And Pilate begins with, "Are you the King of the Jews?" And Jesus answers, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" And Pilate replies, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" And Jesus answers, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." And it's that last sentence in this part of the conversation that says it all. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here. When Jesus says that to Pilate, he is saying, first, you have nothing to fear. I'm not interested in political kingship. You, Pilate, your power is safe. Rome has nothing to fear. I'm not interested in one might call a traditional kingdom on earth. Quite the contrary. Jesus is a king, but he's here as the Son of God to save the cosmos, which in ancient Greek meant the universe, not to rule it. Second, Jesus is saying to Pilate, because my kingdom isn't from here, my authority is not earthly. It's divine, heavenly, from God. This becomes abundantly clear in the next exchange after Pilate gets a little, or maybe a lot, nervous about Jesus being a threat to him. Pilate says, "So, you are a king?" And Jesus answers, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Jesus is not of this world. John chapter 1, verse 14. "And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. And Jesus is, from John chapter 14, verse 6, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So if the kingdom is not of this world, what is it like? Matthew chapter 13, verses 31 through 32 tell us, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. And Matthew chapter 13, verse 33 tells us, the kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. And Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 through 46. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. On finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. Jesus' kingdom does not belong to this world. It is not from here. It is a way of life, a truth of life, and eternal and everlasting life. Amen, and have a blessed week.